Hey, everybody, welcome to Poduty in the News for Tuesday, March 10th, 2026. I have Ashe Woodward joining me from the Spooky Scholars podcast. We've got 6 great stories about live podcasting coming your way. We're talking about attention economy, behind bars podcasting, crossed wires, and art educators save the world. Ashe, do you know what time it is?
I do. It's a Mario time.
What time is it? What time is it? Oh, it's time for Poduty and the news. Poduty and the news. The only live news podcast about podcasting from the stage. Poduty and the news. Poduty and the news. The only live news podcast about podcasting from the stage.
Ashe Woodward, welcome to the show.
Howdy. Thanks for having me.
You did mention It's a Mario Day. It's March 10th, MAR10, Mario, March 10th. And we were just talking, it's about 8 p.m. when we're recording here. I didn't hear a single person tell me today that it was Mario Day.
No, I saw nothing. I was, on social media way too much all day. I didn't see anything.
Sometimes trends are so in your face, like the McDonald's CEO eating a cheeseburger. And then sometimes you don't hear anything, like Mario Day was a huge thing the last couple of years, but I guess Mario's already faded from pop culture
Whoa. Well, that was fast.
after 40 years.
Yeah, right. I don't think so.
Well, Ashe, I know you do a radio show. You do the Spooky Scholars podcast. You're an author. You're so well qualified to talk about the stories that we're going to talk about today. And also, this is your second appearance on the show, so we're really excited to have you back.
I'm excited to be back. Thank you so much for having me and putting up with me again. I can't wait to talk about this stuff.
That's my favorite part of the day. But tell us a little about the Spooky Scholars and a little bit about the radio show that you host.
Oh, sure. Spooky Scholars is my podcast about scholarship in horror. So we look at things like everything through a queer lens or feminine gaze and male gaze and all of these things that maybe you don't think of when you're just watching like a cheesy horror movie. We dive deeper and we show you things that maybe you didn't think of before that actually matter and connect to society. And then Horror Helpline is the radio show where it's a call-in show. So I have people call in with their problems. So everything from like boyfriend blues to like school issues or just dealing with life. And then I match them with a horror movie that maybe helps them out. Maybe shows them that it's not so bad actually, or maybe has the same theme and connection there. And that's going to be turning into a podcast real soon too. So you'll have that as well.
Oh, that's incredible. And the best way if people want to connect with you, find you, we do have the crew page. You're already inducted into Poduty and the crew, so all your links are already on there. But for the show notes, anywhere particular you'd like to send people?
I mean, like I said, I'm on social media a lot. You can find me there. Probably see that I'm online. So it's at spooky.scholars. You'll find me around.
Look for the green light and send a message.
Yep.
Awesome. Are you ready for our first story?
Totally.
We're going to talk about the growth of podcasting. We're going to Inside Radio, and podcasting is winning the battle for attention, and the data is starting to make that crystal clear. According to new research from Edison and MRI Simmons, podcast listening is not just growing, it is replacing other media habits. Almost 40% of listeners say podcasts are replacing time spent scrolling social media. More than a third say they are listening instead of watching TV or streaming music. And get this, adults are now spending an average of over 100 minutes a day with podcasts, which is more than TikTok, Facebook, or Instagram. And for advertisers, that kind of focus attention is gold. It also shows why brands are shifting more ad dollars towards podcasts, because when people choose podcasts, they're choosing deeper engagement. I don't think anything about this article is a big surprise. We've seen this growth pattern happen over the last 10 years. We were talking on the last show, really when Serial rolled on the scene with Sarah Koenig and her episodic series really just captured people's attention And that was a big growth spurt for podcasting. So, and then COVID came, and that was another growth spurt for podcasting. So the trend has certainly been upward for the last 10 years.
The trend is trending. I mean, I think, because we're now seeing it change, right? There's kind of there's been a turn where, well, I guess it depends what kind of podcast you have, but there is that change to get more polished. There is that change to get more, again, advertising dollars on it and all of that. But I still think that there's also people coming to podcasting because it feels old school. It feels like people can just kind of say what they want. It's still the place for people to just have people and interview and do those deep dives like I do. So yeah, I think maybe we'll see even more separation. Maybe that's what it's going to show us, like different kinds of podcasts that people are focusing on. I don't know.
And we've also seen an expansion of the definition of a podcast too. I think that may play into some of this too, where we used to say 10 years ago, if it wasn't an MP3 file distributed by an RSS feed to a podcast aggregator, was it really a podcast? Get out of here, right?
Get out of here.
But now, we now accept video as podcasts. We accept just YouTube shows as a form of podcasting. And, really just anything that you're creating now could technically be a podcast. So does that expansion of that definition increase, what we are considering for consumption? Maybe, but I do think that independent media has certainly been on a trending trend, as you had mentioned, for the last 10 years.
I did my podcast for a long time with no video. I was like, no way. I'm just going to do, like I was saying, I'm like team old school podcasting, no, I don't need video. But then you go, but you get so much more engagement. You get so many more views. You can be in so many more different places. Like it's much more ready. Like, of course you can have a video less podcast, a faceless podcast on YouTube, but that doesn't get as much engagement. So you kind of get pushed into it, but luckily there are a lot of platforms and there's a lot of help out there to do that now. So that's made it easier too. I think that's part of it.
I'm here to ride this wave to wherever podcasting is taking us. I've also veered from 2015, Jeff, who was adamant about that definition of a podcast. I will now accept video podcasts. I'll accept really anything that's independent created. If you're going to do something and put passion into it and you want to call it a podcast, that's okay. I'm going to be there to support you. I'm going to be there because you're creating something special and putting out into the world. I don't have to get hung up on the definition. So maybe my hours are over 103 minutes per day because I'm including almost everything I'm watching now as a podcast. Well, let's go to story number 2. I did a story about this podcast, Ear Hustle. They actually came to Pittsburgh maybe a year ago, and they did another show. This show actually started in prison. It's a pretty impressive story. One of the most powerful examples of podcasting's impact happened inside a prison. The award-winning podcast Ear Hustle recently recorded a live episode at the Central California Women's Facility. The show actually started inside prison years ago, created to tell stories about life behind bars. For the incarcerated women who attended the recording, it meant more than entertainment. It meant a connection and hope. Some said it reminded them they were still being thought about on the outside. It's a powerful reminder that podcasting is not just about downloads or ad revenue. Sometimes it's about giving people a voice and creating moments that matter. This one, like I mentioned, is they went on tour. I know they did a stop in Pittsburgh, and part of the stops that they must be doing on their tours, they're actually going back, talking to some of the inmates, places where they may have been incarcerated, but they're having these shows. They're having these tough conversations. They're having conversations with people who mentioned they may not have had so much hope. They may have felt neglected from the outsider. Does anybody even know what's happening? Does anybody even know what they're doing? And that kind of connection, that outside connection, can really boost morale, can really help people just feel human again, to feel part of society, feel connected to the outside world.
Yeah. And I mean, this kind of also connects to what we're saying about, the power of podcasting too, because without podcasting, this is the kind of group or like niche kind of group of, inmates that have these kinds of stories, people on the inside, and then maybe people on the outside dealing with their trauma. Like those are the kind of people that don't get attention. So podcasting is the perfect way that at least we can shine a light on some of these stories as well.
Yeah, whether you're inside or outside that system, you have stories, you have experiences, you have things that maybe you can't talk to with other people. They just don't understand what the
Yeah.
life or the transition was like. And this podcast could be that bridge to, maybe give some balance back to the two different worlds, whether you're, incarcerated or now free. That there's things that that you just can't talk about with your brothers and sisters and mom and dad. They just won't get it. But
Yeah.
these stories are going to have those roots, are going to have that connection, and it could give some peace, some clarity to you as well.
Mm-hmm. And the very good thing about this podcast in particular is they're doing very well. They're a very popular podcast. I think the people really get that, these are just good stories as well. And they also, I will say, they have a beautiful website. I think the guy that is part of developing this, he's the artist, but there's beautiful art all over the website, and it's really cool. You should check it out.
Well, let's go to we're sticking in California. This time we're about making policy and about housing too. So this next story is a great reminder that live podcasting does not have to be about entertainment alone. It can also make big, complicated issues feel personal and real. In a live conversation with Assembly member Buffy Wicks, housing policy was not presented like a dry press conference. It became a human story about security, affordability, family, and the future of entire communities. She talked about growing up in a mobile home, how housing shaped her life, and why California's shortage of homes touches everything from education to healthcare to climate goals. This is the power of live conversation done well. It turns policy into something that people can actually connect with, follow, and care about. The housing in this country is one of the most talked about things that I talk about with anybody under the age of 40. That there's not a path forward for a lot of young people to even think about purchasing a house at these prices with the value of the dollar. It's a very tough, and that's half the population under 40 trying to find homes, trying to buy home ownership, trying to get that the fastest path to building wealth is to start buying your own home, having that property, having that ownership. And there's a big chunk of people for the last 15 years who haven't been able to do that. So having events like this, bringing a podcast, bringing the Assemblywoman Buffy Wicks to the stage to talk about some of these issues can help, maybe unfreeze that market a little bit and make housing a little bit more affordable.
Yeah. And I think this is such a great strategy as well, because like you're saying, that group that has kind of been shut out of home ownership, they're disgruntled. They're like, why is minimum wage where it is? Like, this is impossible. So, I think somebody very smart in their media team is thinking, yeah, if she just comes out here and gives a press conference, that's going to feel very top down, right? Like just another person talking down to us about housing or making empty promises. So I think using the podcast format or conversation format in that way, it makes it a story. What a novel, I didn't mean to use a pun, but what a novel idea to give it a story and an actual human story behind it that people will listen to and not feel talked at, I think is the power of this one.
Yeah, most of the press conferences or speeches you hear directed at the younger generation is, hey, stop buying coffee and work harder. We worked harder when we were kids and we could buy houses.
Mm-hmm.
But having a conversation and opening that dialogue with the public, you're going to hear the other side as well. You're going to be able to take questions. You're going to be able to hear feedback like, hey, I've been saving and I'm just nowhere close to even having what a bank will consider a down payment. Mm-hmm. I'm not keeping up with the rising price of housing. What can we do about this?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And just for the record, the same is happening in Canada. So we're the same.
Global.
Mm-hmm.
And so now it's a little silly. We're going to go from talking about incarceration, talking about housing prices, to me not being able to find out what the price of a ticket was for a podcast. This website drove me crazy. I'm excited about the event. I love that there's all these podcasts together. And I'll go through my one complaint about this whole thing. And the Crosswires is building something huge in the live podcasting space. The festival is adding more headline acts, expanding to 4 days, and leaning into a mix of comedy, true crime, politics, and fan events that can attract a wide audience. On paper, this looks like a big win for live podcasting. They brought in 25,000 people last year, and they are going even bigger in 2026. But this is the thing that drove me crazy. This great programming is only half the battle. If the ticket buying experience is full of friction, you're making it harder for fans to support you. In live podcasting, every extra click, every confusing step, and every moment of hesitation can cost you a sale. And I feel like I need to explain what's happening here. All I wanted to do was find out what the average ticket price was so that I could say, hey, these tickets are starting at $20. You can go to an arena, watch a live podcast, and it's going to cost you $25. That's what I wanted to do. But because Ticketmaster is their, I think it was Ticketmaster is their ticketing agent, they're trying to capture everybody's information before you get to the ticketing site. So every time you click on one of these shows to watch them or to get their tickets or find out the ticket price, you have to enter your name, you have to enter your email, you have to enter your cell phone. Then only after you do that can you go into the Ticketmaster site. Then you can start to select your tickets, but it's only for one of the shows. So it is unbelievably complicated for me. Maybe I just couldn't figure it out, but having to do all that just to find a ticket price was like 10 extra steps. And that just infuriated me. And I wanted to talk about that.
I'm sure you're not alone. I mean, that's annoying. And we have enough of that all day. If we want to go to a fun event, I don't want it to be work, right? That sounds arduous.
Yeah. And every single one, you entered your name again.
No, thank you. No, you definitely got to streamline that user experience, especially for something like this. Like, this is a kind of event that's really cool. And like, you and I are going to think this is awesome. But I think for a lot of people, this would be something new. They're like, we're going to go see a live podcast. I've never done that before. So they take a chance and click on the website, and then it kind of lets them down. It's like, oh, okay, we'll just give up because it probably wouldn't have been good anyway, right? Like, so you're going to lose those people that might be like newcomers that could be joining in and making the event even bigger.
Yeah, I have to fully identify myself just to browse.
No, I'd be out too. I feel you.
That's old Jeffers turning 50 this year, and I'm angry about giving up my email. Well, let's keep it moving right along. And I am very impressed. It's a great lineup. It looks like a great festival. I wish I was in the area to go to that. If you do and you love any of these podcasts, go support them. Do the extra steps to find the tickets. But next year, I hope they streamline that process where, I can just get a ticket. I can just see the pricing.
What can we do about Ticketmaster? I mean, oh man.
Hopefully their grip is slipping. I've heard some things that may be changing in the Ticketmaster ecosystem.
Yeah, they might be getting called out, which would be good.
And let's go to one of the coolest slides I've ever put on this show. When podcasting meets the arts from KPBS. Here's a story that reminds us podcasting does not always have to chase big crowds or big ticket prices. The Art Educators Save the World podcast recently recorded a live episode at the Comic-Con Museum in San Diego for just $5, and you didn't have to give up your email, phone number, and full name. Audiences could watch a conversation between Emmy-winning writers Joshua Pruitt and Scott Peterson about membership, creativity, and the role education plays in building a career in the arts. Events like this are small, intentional, and community-driven. They show how podcasts can support the arts, connect generations of creators, and create spaces where learning and storytelling come together on stage. The thumbnail for this website was like my favorite thing of the whole story, and to hear what they put together, what they're doing, and what they're building, it just inspires you and gives you hope for the future.
Yeah, we need some hope for the future. Yeah, we'll take some of that. I mean, I love the aspect of this just being real people. I mean, all of these are real people, but like it's specifically designed to be like a mentorship and like give some leadership. It's doing so many things, right? But I think, charging $5 again is that ground roots kind of feeling of podcasting. I think that's also tapping into like real people giving mentorship to kids, not just letting them go and do like digital platform learning, get out, go see a show, actually hear from real people, authors, come on, support books.
Support words. I'm a big fan of words.
Yeah.
Words and
Go
books.
words.
Yeah. But the caption, exploring the mysteries of what can happen in a classroom when teachers and students inspire each other, was a truly joyful surprise. That was a quote right on the page by Peggy Pfeiffer. Peggy Pfeiffer. So right on the homepage, just a really cool, like superhero type imagery. You have this event where you're going to at the Comic-Con Museum, which I didn't even know there was a Comic-Con museum.
Yeah, that's
And
yeah.
for
neither.
$5, you're hanging out with this podcast. You're hearing the stories. You're hearing about the future. You're hearing about educating the young minds in different ways. And it's
Mhm.
just a fun, great way to spend a night for $5.
And get them into podcasting.
Yeah. And speaking of podcasting, we're going to our last story. It always goes so fast, but not every podcast needs words. And this one I like to file sometimes live streams or live shows under topics where I didn't really expect to see a podcast, a genre I didn't expect to see a podcast. And this is our final story today, a reminder that not every podcast needs a microphone conversation. The Alpha Rhythm Drum and Bass podcast is celebrating how many? 400 episodes with a live show built entirely around music mixes. Every week, the show releases new tracks and live streams, DJ-style performances that introduce listeners to new electronic and drum and bass artists. It's a great example of how podcasting can go beyond talk shows and interviews. Sometimes the content is the music itself, and the live experience becomes more like a concert than a podcast recording. And the DJ just spins music for an hour, hour and a half, and informing you about the tracks, telling you a little backstory, when it came out, when the album, who released the album. So you're getting there is some words happening throughout the show, a little bit of dialogue.
Right. Go words again.
Good word. Good word.
No, I love this too. This is like, it's a way to also expand our mind on what a podcast is, but also just like diversify the space, right? Like, I don't know. It's funny because when I think about my radio show, it's me. I'm just like I'm a talk show. It's just me talking. Sorry, guys. But then after me, it's people doing music. So it's kind of like mimicking, of course, that radio space music, obviously. But it's mimicking that in a way that it's still within. You can also switch over to a talk podcast, right? Like it's like, I don't know. That's just very cool.
Yeah, if you look closely too, the thing that I love, as a kid, sitting in my room at night doing homework, listening to the radio, you could hear what the DJ told you. You could hear maybe what the caller said when they called in. But if you look at over to the right, the super chat that's going on, you don't get this with radio, which is I love that he is basically producing a radio show, calling it a podcast. But the interaction with the community, the interaction where you're able to leave a comment. I'm in Pittsburgh and somebody in Canada I could interact with, and we both like the same types of music. And we're having this shared experience while listening, which is a new way to take a live podcasting, a live radio show, I thought, to a whole nother level. And the fact that he's done 400 of these, that's pretty impressive.
That's very impressive. I feel like I've been doing Spooky Scholars forever, and it's only at I'm just over 100. That's so impressive. And something like this is such a beautiful idea. Like you said, the community involvement in this, just another way to get people engaged. It's so cool. I'm all about this. Plus it's like drum and bass, which I love. So this is great. You don't get that on the radio. That's not on the radio. So that's awesome.
No, you'd have to subscribe to XM or something.
Exactly. And then listen to a lot more ads than I think this guy would do, right?
Yeah, YouTube is free. We can watch the live stream, get the comments, connect with people, use your words to connect with people all around the world. Ashe, this has been so much fun. Again, episode number 2 for you in the books. You're officially a 2-timer in the Poduty Crew Hall of Fame.
Proud to be.
Last time, anything you'd like to talk about, plug, promote, I turn the floor over to you. The floor is yours.
The floor is mine. Well, I don't need to promo anything right now. Well, maybe I'll just shout out my latest contribution. It's called Darkest Margins, and it's all about liminality in horror. So you should check that out from 1428 Publishing. I'm really proud of my essay in there. It's all about the Flatliners universe. But beyond that, I don't know. This show today kind of just inspires me to tell more people, like, go get a podcast. Like, it's so fun. It's easy. Anyone can do it. You might just find your creativity in such a special way. Then you can come back here and learn how to do live events once you've got it down. But go get a podcast if you don't have a podcast.
Go out and get one. Like adoption. I saw a really cool video today. It was a pet adoption event where the humans sit around in like a giant circle, and then they release one animal at a time, and the animal will go around and then choose their person. It was super cool, and like you want to see an old man tear up a little bit. Yeah,
Yeah, I've seen
like this little pit bull runs in, and this guy like gets the biggest hug he's given the pit bull, and it was like the craziest experience. And there was like 50 people there trying to adopt animals, so it was nice to see that many people would take a chance on letting the pet find them and choose them. And it was just a super cool event. So just like that pet chose that human as his human, go out and choose your podcast, whatever you're passionate about, talk about it, and then think about doing it live. That's all I have for Poduty in the News for Eat Some Oreo Day.
What time is it?